I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, good morning, fellow Toastmasters. At this time, I will invite our president, Suzanne Swan, to assume her responsibilities of the meeting.
Good morning.
Exciting. Thank you.
Sure. Good morning. Good morning. We welcome to our guests, Mark and Dick and Tucker. It's nice to see you all here.
Thank you.
We need a word change to the schedule. Melinda will be our counter. Thank you, Melinda. And if someone has a word available, maybe Hoyt has one up his sleeve to be the word master. Hoyt, are you game? Do you have a word?
No, I don't. Wish I would have known.
Well, we didn't know that one. Oh, thank you.
That one.
All right, Ron will be.
Nefarious is a word of the day yet. Nefarious, it means.
Yeah, I have one.
We're not.
If you want.
Okay.
You would expect some bad person to do. So nefarious would be a good word of the day.
Okay.
Various with a V?
Nefarious, N-E-F-A-R-I-O-U-S.
Good
Nefarious.
speller. Okay.
Written on the
Stan
board,
will,
I had just a moment's notice.
Stan will be our Toastmaster today, and his theme is unity. And Ron will be speaking. We're cheering Stan on because he's in the home stretch for his DTM certification. And with this speech, Ron is working towards his BPS certification, back pocket speech. I learned another shortcut before we go. Remember how if everybody is muted and you want to speak, you can hold down the, oh, our word master has arrived. Thank you, Ray.
We had connectivity issues. We had a little connectivity issues here with the, so my daughter, I woke her up, she got out of bed and helped me on her computer.
All right.
Okay, so we will forget about being nefarious today.
Oh, I have
our
a
new
couple
word
announcements.
very shortly.
Yep, sorry about all that.
I have a couple more announcements before I turn this over. Another shortcut to unmute yourself is to hold down the Alt and letter A keys at the same time and release them. That will unmute you, and then you can Alt A to mute yourself again. It's another shortcut. We have all our roles. Also, on behalf of our beloved treasurer, we have 11 paid members through September. So perhaps, Don, in the chat function, you could type your address for people to see to send their checks.
Will do.
And I'd like to turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster, Stan.
Welcome, Toastmasters, and our special guest. We've got John and Dick, and of course, Tuck. Those of you that are old veterans would remember Tuck from a few years back. And I want us to think about that united in our United States. That's our theme for today, and there is so much to divide us currently. Last week, April the 9th, marked the 155th anniversary of Lee's surrender at Appomattox, the end of the Civil War, our greatest disunity. Last week, three members of the Asheville Club I belong to spoke out about getting rid of the Pledge of Allegiance in the meetings. And in fact, one of these members was a member of the military, and he was saying he wanted to preserve the freedom of others to not conform and not say the pledge if it was against their will. April the 12th of this week marks the 159th anniversary of the start of the Civil War with the firing upon Fort Sumter in Charleston that Karen is very familiar with. Behind me in our virtual background is the flag that was fired upon, the 34-star flag. The United States. I want you to think about what that means. And now we will go to our word master, that's to unify us. Ray, if you can please give us the word for today.
I'll not only tell you what it is, I'll show you what it is. This may be backwards, but
That's
the word is
correct.
collaborate. Is it backwards?
No, that's correct.
Okay. So anybody who's dyslexic got it. Okay. Collaborate. The definition is, and it's a verb, working jointly on an activity to produce or create something. To work together with others, especially in an intellectual endeavor. To work together with another person or organization for a mutual outcome. To use it in a sentence, if federal and local government collaborate on solutions, then we stand the best chance of safely reopening our communities and jumpstarting our economy. So collaboration, collaborate, ties with unity. I'm going to editorialize here from my 40 years in business that if you cannot collaborate well, you cannot successfully team build. And if you cannot successfully team build, you cannot effectively lead. And that's just the way it is. That's in Leadership 101. If you can't collaborate with others, take the best ideas from a collective group of minds, smart minds, then it's less likely you're going to be successful resolving things and showing solutions and coming up with solutions. So this ties, I think, very closely to our theme today, which is unity, and collaboration is the underlying word that covers that. Respectfully submitted.
That was
Okay, thank you for that great teamwork word of collaborate. We have this reminder that dues are not an option. It's great to have freedoms. We can have clubs disagree about even the pledge, but I'm asking that members, because we've got about half of our whole club that has not yet paid dues, and I think you can see in front of you, this is Don's address, Don number 1, and probably I'm speaking to the choir, but in any case, we'll try and encourage our members to pay up in this month. We've been given a grace period.
You guys have like a advertisement on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. How do you get rid of it?
My advertisement.
Stan, you as host can end screen share.
Okay, I'm wanting to start the screen share.
Okay.
You see in front of you the $60 for the FSTM.
Okay.
Okay,
How do you get rid of that?
I get rid of it here. This is my
Okay.
transition.
Okay.
That advertisement actually was saying for 4 seasons, get that
Oh,
money in.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I just realized if I turned the paper around, you could read it. There we go. Look at that. Okay.
Okay, looking at our current situation of the flu deaths, of course, we're talking about another virus, but you may not have known, I did not know, how many people in the United States typically die because of the flu. And last year it was 34,000, which is pretty much the regular take on this. Smallpox, in the 1700s, we had about 400,000 Europeans that died every year in the 1700s. And of course, the Native Americans were often decimated because of this smallpox. More recently, the Hong Kong flu, this is something my dad experienced. He said that it made his hair hurt. And that's when he had hair. He's since bald, but a lot of people are in pain with that. Now we've got, of course, the current coronavirus, the COVID-19. As of 2 days ago, I didn't try to be current, but we had 5,100 cases, 108 deaths. And you may have noticed in Henderson County, we seem to have a large number for such a small population. We have 99 cases. It's probably over 100 now. One key thing to remember of that, though, 70 of those cases were in nursing homes and retirement centers, and 12 were from staff members of those retirement centers. So it makes it be in more perspective that we don't have that big an outbreak except in these retirement centers. There have been, unfortunately, about 8 deaths in our county. You compare that in these United States with other areas like Wyoming out west has only 288 cases and 2 deaths. And then, of course, in our United States, we have well over 500,000 cases. At this point, over 35,000 deaths. One last figure to put up there, the flu deaths, and that's the flu, not the coronavirus. In this year, we've had 149 in North Carolina that have died just because of the flu. So just keeping things in perspective. Of course, it's not just we've tried to flatten the curve of the corona, we've also flattened the economy. And that's the other war that we're in. And we passed a milestone in March that the industries have shut down to the extent of the war industries way back in World War II, right after the war. We need to get back to work, obviously, and you have probably heard we're trying to do this in phases because you've got Wyoming that has very few cases compared with our own county that has a bunch, and we're hoping to gradually get back to work because that's what we all need. Getting us to work, we have Ron Clymer that has stepped up to give us a speech. And this is a speech that he was taking on just a couple of days back. And it's a speech that's going to be very important for us because you are the evaluators today. We're doing a round robin, and I wanted to let you know of what the pathways criteria was when Ron is going to be speaking. So just have these in mind. And let me now stop our share and introduce Ron, because he did send me an introduction. Ron's talk today is an illustration of how anyone, including you, can create a speech in one day. Other than my telling you in the introduction, Ron says there should be no clue that this was a rush job. Ron's title today is Are You Stuck? So please welcome Ron as our speaker for today.
Would you like to have your joke first?
How about Melinda has a joke and I forgot to introduce her. So yes, let's break away from the seriousness, prepare Ron for speaking with our joke from Melinda.
A sick woman was lying on her sick bed with her husband by her side. She turns to the husband and says, "Honey, I have a confession to make." The husband tells her to save your strength, my dear. The wife cuts in, "No, I want to say it so that when I die, my spirit will be at rest. I have been stealing your money and giving it to my boyfriend. You are not the father of our son, Junior. I was the one who stole your gold watch and hid it in your sister's bag so that you would drive her away. Please forgive me." The husband looked at her and said, "I know all of these. That's why I poison you. So keep calm, let the poison work."
Whoa, gosh. And we thought we had it bad. Okay.
So she didn't want, there was no collaboration there at all.
Thank you, Melinda, for that great joke. Ron, I messed up your introduction, even though you mailed it to me. But basically, you are going to be telling us that we too can speak with just a day's notice and speak well. So please welcome again, Ron, to our stage.
May I cover the timing sequence?
Sure.
So I'm the timer at 5 minutes. Ron, you'll see the green in my background there. Do you see that? Okay. Yellow will be 6. Red will be 7. Thank you for that interruption.
Okay.
And another skill you learn at Toastmasters is you know how to wing it when you get interruptions and all that kind of stuff. But don't you just love living in Western North Carolina? I had an appointment day before yesterday to meet a client out by the Tryon Equestrian Center. So I drove out there, and they got this big traffic circle right there at the bottom of the ramp at 170. So I pulled into the traffic circle and just parked there, waiting for the guy. And I was sitting there for about 10 minutes, and I had 3 cars stop and just ask me, hey, you all right? You need any help, or you broke down, whatever? And isn't that wonderful? You know, it don't happen that way in other parts of the country, but it happens that way in Western North Carolina. But what I want to talk to you about today is sometimes you can have a traffic mishap. Your car breaks down, a flat tire, things like that. And sometimes, remember the Boy Scout motto, be prepared? If you're prepared, it's not a big deal. If you're not prepared, it can be a big deal. And of course, in today's modern world, isn't it great? We got a cell phone, we call AAA, and our problems are over 4 hours later. But sometimes it's just better if you're prepared. And I want to suggest to you a few things that you should always have in your car. And one of them is tire changing equipment. You know, they put a spare tire in the car and a jack in every car that's been manufactured for the last 75 years. So it must be important. But yet it's amazing how many people have a flat tire, which is not a catastrophic event unless you don't have a jack or you don't have a tire tool to take the tire off. And sometimes that happens. In fact, I used to go out on weekend trips with these other guys that do seminars and stuff. And when we rented a car, I would always look to be sure there was a jack and a tire tool. And they said, Ron, why do you do that? Because about 1 time out of 10, there's not. And you just never know. So get yourself a tire tool. And by the way, since most of us have a little gray hair, let me tell you something else. Get yourself one of these, a real tire tool. My brother went down to Florida in his BMW, and he had a flat tire. Well, that's not a big deal, but he's my age. He's a year older than me. He didn't have enough strength with the little old toy thing they give you to break the lug nuts loose. Well, fortunately, some 25-year-old bodybuilder stopped to help him. And the bodybuilder couldn't do it either. And I gave him a 4-way tire tool for a Christmas present last year. So if you got a friend that's, you know, my age, give them a 4-way tire tool and make sure they put it in their car. You never know when you're going to need it. Now, another thing you should have in your car is a knife. Do y'all watch this show on TV, SOS, on the Weather Channel? I love that show. The guy talks about real mishaps where people got trapped in the snow or trapped in the desert or something like that with a broke down car. And he tells you how to make snowshoes out of your floor mats or something like that. But you should have a knife in your car. A knife like this, you just never know when you're going to need a knife. And knives are dirt cheap. You know, you can stop at one of those convenience stores. They all have knives for sale for $5 and just buy a knife, throw it in a glove box and forget about it. And one of these days, you just might need a knife for who knows why, and you'll have it. Now, another thing you should have in your car is matches and or a cigarette lighter. You should have a cigarette lighter in your car. Because if you are trapped in not the desert, but if you ever got trapped in the snow or something, sometimes building a fire is important. My daughter Amy, she goes out camping and all that sort of stuff. And she told me a couple of months ago, she went out camping, not camping, but just hiking. And they got about a mile away and they realized they didn't have any matches with them. So she walked back to the car to get some matches. She had no matches in the car either. And put some matches in the glove box and just forget about them, or throw a lighter in there. You just never know when you're going to need to start a fire. Now, another thing that everybody should have in their car is some cash. Now, you know, there's a lot of people that run around today with no cash in their pocket. They use a credit card for everything, and that's great. But sometimes you're places or situations where nothing but cash will do. And this is not true much today, but it wasn't long ago when that was true at a toll booth. I've been to these toll booths. You got to have change to throw in. And if you don't, you're in a bucket of trouble. And so put some cash in your car. Put 15 bucks in the trunk and just forget about it. And if you ever need some cash, you're in some kind of jam. I was at a gas station a couple of months ago, and this lady pulled into the gas station and she parked about 10 feet away from the gas pump. She got out and she called her husband on the phone, and she had ran out of gas and she had coasted into the gas station. She had no money with her and had no credit card with her. And she is just cussing her husband on the phone and this and that. And I walked over to her, I handed her a $10 bill and I said, here, if this will solve your problem, take it. And she said, well, thanks. And, you know, she went inside and I guess got $10 worth of gas and got some kids to push her car up to the pump. But have a little cash with you. Just put it in the car and forget about it. You never know when you're going to leave home with your bedroom slippers on and no cash. So put some cash in the car. And another thing that you need is a flashlight. You should always have a flashlight. And I like this flashlight because it's nice and bright. Y'all can see that. And also it's big and heavy. And get yourself a flashlight. One of my wife's favorite Christmas presents that I ever gave her, I bought this little $3 flashlight that hangs on your key ring. And she had that thing for a long time. It finally quit working, but she loved that little flashlight because you come up to the door at night and got that. So put a flashlight in your car. You'll have it. Now, I could go on because things like jumper cables and water, put some water in your car. By the way, I went out to my truck to get that four-way tire tool. I went out to get that four-way tire tool out of the truck, and I looked behind the seat where I keep it, and what was there? A roll of toilet paper, just what you need in today's world. So, you know, put some stuff in the car, and when you have an emergency, it won't be a catastrophe if you collaborate with good common sense. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, if you will see, what is on our agenda next is a round robin, because we don't have an evaluator that is having to have extra time to come up with, now, what do I say? I've got 2 to 3 minutes to speak. And so I decided to put that round robin right now. And I want to refresh you again on the rubric from Pathways. Then we will go to our table topics master. I'm deciding to not do the screen share of the spoof because Grant is not here today, and we will just enjoy that at some future time. So we'll have plenty of time for the table topics and plenty of time now for our round robin. Let me just put that up on the screen one more time. In fact, I may just keep that up there and you can decide. I'll just put that up there briefly, I think, so we can see each other. That might be better if you're doing the gallery. But of course, we're looking at two main areas, content and delivery, and try and keep these in mind, because I'd like everyone to contribute either a glow or a grow. And we're going to start always with the glows. We'll have the grows in the sandwich in between, and then end with glows as well. So I'm going to stop that. And if you want to do the gallery, or if you want to do the speaker, that's up to you. Let me start us off with this round robin with a glow. And those that have experienced Ron before know that his delivery is always going to be very comfortable, very energized. If we were in a big auditorium, he would project and we know we can hear him well. Of course, we got a different medium right now, but in the delivery, his fluency, I think, is always strong. He's able to connect his ideas with his voice. He's not stammering. He's not, I don't think we have even an arcana here, but we wouldn't need one because he's not having the ahs and ums and the repeated words. Anybody else want to add a glow in particular?
I particularly liked, excuse me. I particularly liked the opening because it was very candid and very up to date, and the way you blended it into the main content of your speech was really classic. I would suggest, however, even in this environment, if you have props, put them on a table or a desk or something so that you can reach for them without disappearing from the screen.
Good idea.
Okay. Someone else with a glow, and if you want to add a grow with your glow, but let's just keep a couple more glows before we get to the heavy duty grows, but we've already gotten one and that's very meaningful.
Thank you, Stan. Ron, I particularly like the illustrations and the actual use of the prompts to show us what a real tire tool looks like as opposed to those little toys that you get now. I like the way you demonstrated the type of knife that you could use and a flashlight along with some of the other things. I appreciate that you said you could go on what you need in your car in case of an emergency, but those were certainly some of the ones that already list. So thank you for raising that concern to us again.
Thank you.
Ron, I liked your stories. You always have good stories, but these were clearly real stories as opposed to fabricated. And they were so real that we could relate to them. The audience could relate. Very well done. And you strung them, I mean, you had them together and they applied appropriately to the tools. Nicely done.
I think that the content was interesting, but I think even more important, I think you could talk about anything and still be engaging, admirably animated, which makes it interesting, great eye contact. You're very easy to listen to. You engage your audience extremely well. It comes somewhat natural. You could be talking about anything, real estate, preparation for car trips, but somehow you attract the audience and you keep our attention. Good contact, good animation, and good inflection. As the story goes, it's not a monotone. You go up, you go down, you go. It keeps us all involved. So I thought it was pretty well done.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have a grow to add to what we've heard? Okay, Hoyt?
Yeah, I would have liked to have heard some examples of the things in the car. And a great opportunity for humor, like money. I wanted to hear more, and I was kind of expecting some kind of joke or something that would really suck that as a good example.
One good example of a joke would have been if all else fails, call AAA. That's what I do. You don't need any of that stuff.
Yeah, when AAA works, it shows up.
That's right.
Right.
Anybody else with a grow? One thing I would interject here, let's see, Karen, you want to go ahead?
I enjoyed your speech. I don't think I need to turn my key, which I don't have a key on my Prius, but because I have a spare tire, but I don't think I have anything. Oh, there's water in there. I wouldn't be able to change a tire if I tried. I'm not mechanical at all. But I appreciated everything that you said. And I know I'm not allowed to say it in this environment, but you need to find a few R's and G's because you cut your words off sometimes. And I don't think anybody here minds that except for me. So perhaps that would be my grow for you, is to be a little bit more clear on your words. But you speak in a very Western North Carolina verbiage, and everybody understood what you were saying. It's not that the words weren't clear, it's just they weren't finished. So that's my only thing. But I enjoyed it very much, and I know before I drive very far, I need to get several things, but I'm not sure I can buy them right now. So there we go. And I will
on that.
One thing I was going to say is the organization would be one thing that I think would be helped if you were to say, I think you said 3 things to put in a car. Anyway, you were giving us a preview of, okay, it's a finite number of what you're going to cover. And then you gave 2 really good examples in stories, but the others were brought up without the stories, kind of like what Hoyt was saying. But if you were to select maybe 3 categories of things and then give us the 3 stories on those 3 items, because at the end you were saying, oh, I could do jumper cables, water. And so you had a lot of things that you were adding on at the end, whereas at the end, if you gave us a review of those 3 things, and we did catch, at least I caught the joke about the toilet paper. That was good there because that's in such short supply. But just organization would be one thing I would just suggest. Now for glows, let's have a couple of glows before we finish our round robin. We've had a lot
You
of
look good, Ron. You look good. Your background's good.
I like the way that he, I'm sorry, Judy.
No, I'm done.
Okay. I like the way that, Ron, you presented the tool and you told us where to buy it too. Here's one place you can get it from. So it was a functional tool that you showed us where to get it from.
One of the things you wanted to do was meet the needs of the audience, and I say you did that in spades.
And your usual command, even though you're in a small room speaking, if you were in an auditorium, you still have that same ability to just command the audience's attention.
Okay. Oh, Tuck.
No, I thought the speech was a wonderful speech. The strongest point in my opinion, Suzanne said pretty much the same as Ron. I've listened to Ron's speeches. I've heard many of them. He's a natural. He's got just a talent for speaking, and the way he engages his audience, that with a tone and manner of friendliness and self-confidence, produces a collaborative synergy, so to speak, collaborative energy between audience and speaker, where the audience sort of forgets they're listening to a speech and gets involved in that speech. And that's really the mark of a truly accomplished public speaker who's able, who can do that. And anyone at the DTM level, of course, as we know, as Toastmasters, they're genuinely the real deal as far as public speaking. I mean, Ron exemplified that quite a bit today. I enjoyed the speech thoroughly.
Very good. Thank you for that round robin. You've done a great job in evaluating. Now let's move to our table topics master, Karen, who is going to be prompting you. And so, Karen. Karen, you're on mute now.
I know. I just unmuted, so I'm
Okay.
good. First off, before I begin, I want to make sure that our guests Tucker and Dick. And do you go by Mark?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, do you want to participate?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. And
I'll
there's-
participate. Sure.
everybody said yes, right? Okay, good. Welcome, good morning. And
Morning.
I'm so glad that Kayla's in my picture. She's making me happy now. I think I might be the only one who is not isolated during this horrible moment of our American history. We've all collaborated to make the best of the worst situation, and I'm working every day. I spoke with a friend of mine in Wilmington area who was very, very distraught because she has been not working for 35, 40 days, and it's getting the better of her. It's getting her mental health not in good condition. So my table topics is all about what's happening to us personally during this interesting time in our history. And first of all, I want to know who would you most like to be isolated with? If it wasn't for your spouse, is there anybody else that you would like to have 30 days with that you can just chat and chat and chat? And I will give this to Betty.
Betty, you're muted.
Now,
Okay.
okay. So who would I like to be isolated with for 30 days? I have some, other than Ron, and you already covered that, not our family. I have some wonderful friends. We've been friends, a couple of ladies in particular, we've been friends since grade school. And regardless how much time elapses, when we get together, and before this, we did it probably every other week, we met for coffee. So I would choose them because our conversation never ends. We have wonderful memories to share. We never tire of spending time together, and I really miss them. I really miss the opportunity. I send them virtual hugs, but that's not like getting to be with them. So I would say the people I would like most to spend some time with, other than my family, extended family, it would be those two ladies, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Betty. Very good. I appreciate that. Now, the next one was alluded to in our last meeting, not going out. People have become more creative in their cooking at home. And I'm going to give this to Hoyt because he's the one that gave me the idea. What's the most creative thing that you and your wife have cooked during this period of isolation?
Rabbits. Rabbits. Not real rabbits, but baked rabbits. My wife somewhere purchased a mold, and it's a mold of rabbits. It's kind of an Easter thing.
Yeah.
So she made up a batter, yeah, and poured it in this mold, and we had maybe a half a dozen little rabbits. So she tried one recipe, was kind of a plain bread or cake recipe. And then she decided, well, why don't I try some carrot cake rabbits? So I think carrot cakes for rabbits is a little bit more appropriate than a plain cake recipe, because rabbits like carrots, I think. So it was kind of an appropriate little treat that we had. We split a rabbit yesterday because they're fairly large. You know, they're maybe like a softball, something like that. And so it's an appetizing little treat. So thank you, Table Topics Master.
And thank you, Hoyt. Very good. I love carrot cake, so I might get you to give me the recipe afterwards. Okay. We're hearing signs and indications that it might be lifted in the not so distant future. And I know there's a dozen places that I want to go, mostly restaurants, but also to DuPont Forest and a few other places. What's top on your list to do when it's safe to go places? And I'm going to give this to Tucker Cox, one of our guests.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Am I on?
Yes.
So the question is, what's top on my list as the place to go when things free up? And I'm a traveler. I've been to about 96 countries. I'm struggling to get to 100 and to 7 continents. I've been to 96 and 6 continents. And Joyce and I had a trip planned right around now. Well, Joyce had her own trip. She was going to Africa with a girlfriend. That got canceled. She was going on a photo safari. And then later, early next month, we had planned to go to the Baltic states and had done a lot of work to go to Estonia and Lithuania and Latvia. We haven't been there. And for me, it would be 3 more countries and I'd get to 99, one magic country away from my lifetime travel goal. So that was what we had planned to do, and that is what I would do. Now we're scheduling that trip, God willing, for November, which is not really a great time to go so far north because of the shortness of the day, but beggars can't be choosers. And still, millions of people live there, so it can't be so bad. But that is what I would do, Madam Table Topics Master.
Very good. Thank you. I gave that question to the right person, Tucker, I can tell, because that was an awesome. I wish you the best on reaching 100. And 7? I think I've visited a lot of states, but not a lot of countries. I've only visited 2 myself. So thank you very much for sharing that story. Now I want to know, what is the biggest struggle that you've had during this time of confinement? And like I said, I am not particularly confined. I can't see my kids, and that's a difficult part. But I see people at CVS every day, so I'm considered essential. I'm not sure how essential I was, but I am now. And I enjoy that. I'm glad I'm out every day. I think I would be upset if I was struggling here all by myself just with Kayla. So what is the biggest struggle that you have? And I'm going to ask Mark to give us your biggest struggle. Mark?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. My biggest struggle in being isolated is getting motivated to do all the projects that I have around my house and around my yard. And I have a rental house, which I have a lot of things to do. And my renter constantly reminds me of that. I spent a long time in the Middle East in some very isolated places. So I'm quite comfortable being on my own and looking at opportunities and creative opportunities that actually can enhance the time of being alone. I think there's really no better company, if you think about it, than yourself. Because if there isn't, you may need to look inward and see why you're not the best company you could have on your own. So I enjoy the quietness and the opportunity to be creative and the need to look at projects that can be done when I cannot do other things. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Yes, I have that list of things to do and it's not getting done either. So I understand totally and I appreciate your response. Now, as many of you know, the stimulus money has started to roll out. One of my kids has received theirs. Several people at work have received theirs. I haven't yet, but I know it's coming. I'm not worried about it. And I haven't lost any income, so I haven't gone backwards at all. Is there any special plan that you have for that $1,200 that you're going to get? And I will ask Dick Miley that question. Is there any special plan for your stimulus money?
Yes, I hope I'm on Zooming with y'all. Good. Yes, I do have special plans if we ever get that money. We don't really need it. So my goal is to give all of it to some type of charity, maybe some of it to Rotary, so that we can collaborate with Toastmasters for the Tour de Apple cycling event on Labor Day, which is September 7th. And thank you so much for this opportunity to Zoom with all of y'all. This is only my second Zooming, and I need to Zoom some more because we will be doing arbitrations. I'm an arbitrator. We'll be doing Zooming arbitrations. So thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you.
You made a minute. Very good, Dick. You're doing great. Thank you very much for being here. I look forward to getting back to the Rotary that we had just barely started before all this nonsense began. And it is scary. And Stan, thank you for sharing those facts with us today. And thank you all for cooperating with the isolation and the Zoom. 6 weeks ago, we all said, no, we're going to still meet. And then we couldn't. And we quickly, and I thank Suzanne, our president, for quickly getting us on board with this Zoom method. It's not as easy as I thought it would be, but it's not as difficult as I thought it would be either. So now I will return control to Stan, our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. We're now going to hear from our Eyes and Ears team. Grammarian Jean, if you can please tell us grammatically how we did.
I am absolutely amazed at how well we did. I did not catch any grammatical errors, and if I missed any and somebody else caught it, I'd really like to know. I did catch some very nice use of language, though. Tucker came up with collaborative synergy. I thought that was marvelous. And he also used the word exemplified, which we don't hear a lot, and it's really an excellent description. I did hear one negative, it was from Karen, and you said, if I took the notes correctly, not in good condition. I think you were talking about a friend or a family member was not in good condition, and it just didn't seem to come out right. And I did catch one with Ron. Ron, you said had ran rather than had run. Somewhere along the line in your speech, which I totally enjoyed. And John Markey came up with enhance the time of being alone. Again, enhance was such a great descriptive word. And that would be it for me.
Okay, thank you, Jean. And for our word master, Ray.
I think I might be on mute. Am I on mute? Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. There have been 6 uses of collaborative or collaborate or some version of that word. 1 by Melinda, 1 by Ron, 1 by Karen, 1 by Dick, 1 by Tucker, and 1 by Jean. So the word collaborative was used 6 times and very effectively.
Very good collaboration there as a team. Now we have our timer done.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I've had a little nefarious collaboration with my equipment today. So, but I do have a list here. Joke Master Melinda, she came in at 47 seconds. Ron Clymer, you came in at 7 minutes, 22 seconds. there's never a problem getting the green for you. I'll say that. The on table topics hosted by Karen, we had Betty at 1 minute 19, Hoyt at 1 minute 13, Tucker at 1 minute 32, Mark at 1 minute 8, and Dick at 1 minute spot on. So very good on that. And that's my report.
Thank you, Don.
Good report.
Okay, now we have our general evaluator and table topics evaluator, Judy.
Thank you. We had a great meeting today, as always. I was really impressed with Stan's introducing a new innovation for our meetings. This screen share took me off guard. I was writing our address in the chat thing, putting that in for everybody, and it appears on the screen. I think, wow, how did that happen? So it was nothing I did. It was Stan at the control. So this is something that we all will need to learn, because I understand from Suzanne that we may be needing to do this much longer than we would like to be doing this, but we'll do it as long as we need to. So we had really good technical stuff, and for the most part, fewer issues today than we have been having. So that's good. We're improving every week. I want to comment a little bit about backgrounds and how we look on our screens. And I think we're getting better that way as well. I particularly like the way Don looks, Don and Stan. They have special backgrounds that they conjured up. I haven't figured out that yet, but I think it looks really good. Some of you, a lot of you, are in your living rooms, and I've been observing when I turn on the TV, and they're all doing remote things, and they're all doing from living rooms. Mark, your living room looks very much like some that I see on the TV, and it's very simple. You've got a picture in the background with a piece of furniture, and you are nice and centered. I think everybody today is looking very good. Melinda, you have improved your background over last week. So we are, gradually learning by doing, which is what we have to do. But Jean, I give you the star. I love your pink against the background. I think it looks very, very good. And Sally, you look good with your dark against the white background. So I think I look awful in this stripe. Stripes are no good. I just see waves everywhere. So enough on that. Ron, I thought you did a good job, and you've been evaluated enough, perhaps maybe more than you would normally get in a regular evaluation, but it was an interesting technique. Now on the table topics, Betty, we missed your hands. You didn't get your hands involved. You always get your hands involved. Hoyt, on the other hand, did a great job. He showed us his little rabbit. Very nicely done, Hoyt. And Tucker, you didn't disappoint. Always bring something of interest through table topics or whatever you do, and we got caught up on a little bit of your life, and since we have been missing you. Also, you repeated the question that was asked, and that's a very good technique, as you did, Mark. Mark clearly has done this before. He was spot on with his organization. He is very good with words, I know that, and just did a really good job as a guest presenter. As did you, Dick. We enjoyed you had no trouble. You were very well organized, and you repeated the question. You gave us a beginning, a middle, and an end to your little short segment, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed the meeting very much. Thanks to everybody for continuing to participate and play. This is fun. This is our connection. This is our collaboration, and we're making it work. Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay. Thank you, Judy. We are growing. I think if we were looking at our first Zoom that Suzanne was enabling, we certainly have become a bit more professional, and it is more enjoyable. There are things to be aware of that we're coming along, we're learning. And we are looking forward to more unity, I think. One thing about that club I had mentioned, they will be taking a vote about that Pledge of Allegiance. And I think it's good that Toastmasters can agree to disagree and then take a vote and go with it. And we will, who knows where we'll be in another month or two, as Suzanne probably can tell us. Pardee will not want us back anytime soon because they've got special restrictions. So we may have to be looking for another meeting place when we're able to meet in a group of over 10. But I think if we're just trying to grow, giving glows so that we feel good and getting together, we will find that place, and we will, in the meantime, do well, not just survive, but thrive with our Zoom. Suzanne, if you will please take over.
Okay, thank you.
Suzanne, could I say something? This is Betty.
Sure.
I tried to get this in while we were giving comments to Ron. But Ron, I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciated how you started that story with that comforting, reminding us of where we live, how the kindness of people to stop and ask you if you were okay. So that was a great way to start your story. And thank you for reminding us of that blessing in where we live.
Yeah. Good meeting. We all collaborated. I'd like to ask Dick and Mark and Tucker, do you have any comments about the meeting?
This is Dick. Thank you so much for inviting me to Zoom with y'all.
Sure, good to have you back.
I'll be at the next one.
Good. Mark, had you been to a toast?
Attending next week. Very good meeting. Thank you.
Great.
Mark, have you attended a Toastmaster meeting before?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, I have, about
Okay.
30 years ago.
Oh,
I thoroughly enjoyed it today, but looking at my picture on Zoom, I think I'm not ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. I look like Casper or
Okay.
something. I've got to do something.
and Ron, it's not a glow or a grow, but if you don't have a four-way to change your tire, the way you loosen the lug nuts is you put the wrench on the lug nut parallel to the ground. And then you stand on it, and you know how you kickstart a motorcycle? You shift your weight like that, and that'll break it. That's how I do it.
Four-way, they're $20.
Oh, okay. And Karen, for a roll of toilet paper, I will teach you how to change your own tires. Toastmaster news, there will be no international conference in Paris this year.
It's 9 o'clock.
Okay. And they will have it there in 2021, and 2022 will be in Nashville. And if we could, I wanted to show, okay, you see the screen share?
Yes.
Okay, we have Don Groff. Will you be our Toastmaster next week?
Yes.
Are you available? We have Hoyt as joke master. We need a grammarian, a word master, an counter. Karen and Stan speaking. We need a table topics master, a speaker evaluator, and a general evaluator. Are there any go-to volunteers?
General.
Jean, general.
I'll do evaluation.
So speaker evaluator 2 is Judy. Thank you. Those are good ones. Grammarian, word master, counter. I guess those, they can be voluntold. So I will save this, or I guess it's saved. Stop the share, okay. And see you all next week.
Adios.
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 Yes.
Hey, well. Suzanne, can you hang out with me here for just a minute before you go?
Sure.
Please.
Okay.
I'm not getting that share screen thing, I need to see the speech that I'm going to do.
Yeah, okay. If anybody wants to stick around for that, you're welcome.
Oh yeah, I want to hear that.
Okay. I opened up our